Being a skateboarder who's been very broke in the past, even when I was sponsored and getting shoes for free, a lot of times I would skate through them before they sent me a new set. So I'd end up like having to buy shoes anyways. So there was times where I would buy like airspeed shoes from Walmart and I would just skate in them and not film anything in them. That way I could just like keep skating. And then when it came time to filming, I would switch back to like whoever my shoe sponsor was at the time. I went to Ross trying to look for some cheap shoes that looked like they would skate good. I found some Levi's shoes. Out of all of them, they seem to be the best looking, at least. These are them. They sort of remind me of like when Habitat had a go at making skate shoes. I don't know why. I think it's just the brown on the back. I like that color brown. But are these shoes going to skate good? I don't know. But if they do, that'd be really rad because it would save a lot of skaters a lot of money if they don't mind probably being called a kook for having a Levi shoe, which in my opinion is stupid to call someone a kook for what they're riding. But things to take into consideration, there's no way, chance in hell, that you're supporting skateboarding by buying these shoes. So if that is something that is near and dear to you, by all means, don't skate these. But if you're already skating things that aren't for skateboarding or are companies that bought their way into skateboarding, I don't know, I say fucking go for it. So yeah, let's see if we can save you some money. So here they are. They fit good. I don't know if Adidas is considered true to size, but they fit very similar to where my Adidas do, where I'm sample size 9, and my toe goes pretty much right to the end. Seems snug. First thing I notice when you're wearing a non-skate shoe is it's like usually built more for comfort than for skating, and they're pretty cushy. That feels kind of nice. I don't think that's going to help with skating at all. Relatively empty street, classic not great blacktop, probably what you're dealing with in the majority of the country. This is just me trying to relate to you, you know? Don't feel that crazy. They feel like I'm getting used to any skate shoe. The main thing I'm going to pay attention to is if there's any spot on these shoes where I feel like I'm going to develop a blister, bunion, or a hangnail. Because usually shoes that aren't meant for skating, if you skating them, you can develop that crap. But yeah, let's do a kickflip test. I guess that's important, right? Keep in mind this will be my first kickflip attempt of the day, so maybe don't judge the shoes on this first kickflip. Like the kickflip actually felt fine, but yeah, this ground's fucking awful. Yeah, I want to get flat ground out of the way just because that's the hardest to get used to, and I feel like if I can skate flat ground, then the transitioning to transition or rails or anything should be fine. Definitely a good bit of grip on the side of them, which you get with any new shoe, but it's kind of got like a normal vulcanized grippy feel. The old familiar sting of breaking in new shoes that have too much grip. Not a lot of padding on the bottom. If you're gonna jump down stuff, I learned from that Primo, you're probably gonna want to change out the insoles, but this is just like my normal warm-up. Don't judge how bad the tricks are on the shoes. I haven't skated yet. I think 180s are important in figuring out a shoe because it kind of shows you how well the bottom of your shoe sticks to the grit, because it slides and you got to spin a little bit. Sometimes flip tricks, they give you your board's feel, but I feel like 180s tell you a little bit more about the shoe. For flip tricks, they seem fine since the flat's bottom. It feels very familiar to any pair of Vans that I've skated in the past, where it's not the most padding in the world, not the most comfortable landing, but you got a decent amount of board feel. So yeah, no real issues there. The nose, the tip does feel kind of long, which is what I used to really like, but the shoes I've been skating are more of like a rounded nose. So that took a second to get used to, and by that I mean like literally a couple kickflips and it felt fine. The flip tricks, moving on. Scratch around on a little transition. You're running out of that. Showed me not a ton of support on the bottom. Heel bruise, very possible. Definitely insoles, recommend it. So like whatever your last shoes have, dig those out, put them in. want to do blunt fakies, but I'm like weird of committing to them just because I don't know if my shoes are like slipping around or if it's just in my head. But the last I just tried one and I just like bailed real quick, so I'm just gonna commit to this one no matter what. See if it's actually my shoes are not as grippy as skate shoes, or I'm just being mental because I'm afraid that they're not gonna be as grippy as skate shoes. Oh no, I think they're fine. See, I get to do this so you don't have to. You don't have to worry about if it's just in your head that your feet are slipping around, or if it's an actual reality of the shoes not being skate shoes. So the issue with these shoes for transition that I had was just fear of like, are my feet going to be slipping around? Because I don't know if I mentioned this, and I'll talk about it in a lot more depth. The sole of these shoes, even though they have like a very common skateboard tread, there's something that sort of worried me about it, like as far as like the texture. And I'll cover that at the end of the video where I go into like vivid detail of the entire review of the shoe. But for the most part, it was in my head. When I actually like just committed to the tricks like I normally would, everything worked just like it normally would. No real weird learning curve, except for the learning curve of I haven't been skating that much and these are brand new shoes. But yeah, I don't know, they're already starting to feel broken in and I haven't really done much yet. I guess let's skate the ledge. Damn, I just filmed so much shit and I didn't film it. Like, I didn't press record evidently, or something got tapped. But yeah, if you're watching this and you're seeing like, oh, he's landing a bunch of tricks, they must be fine. Keep in mind that like people skate 2x4s and 360 flip them. So I will definitely give you like a full rundown of whether these shoes are worth buying. So don't let the tricks that I land be the dictator of whether you should get them or not. Let what I say at the end and how difficult these tricks were for me to decide whether you should actually get them or not. Because if I land like a difficult trick but it took me way longer than it normally would, then you know, if the shoes played a factor in that, I'm gonna let you know, especially if some normal tricks just stop working. Now that I've actually warmed my legs up with some ledges and basic ollies, kickflips are feeling way more comfortable, so I feel like I could kickflip manual this in a reasonable amount of tries. Oh, kickflip on, kickflip off. Oh God. Now, I'm currently just struggling with this trick. I don't even think these fucking goofy shoes are even a factor. I think I just haven't done it in a while, so I have to relearn it. Definitely getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm sort of used to these things. They're skate shoes? God damn it. There we go. God, that took way too long. So the ledge is, in my mind, one of the biggest indicators of like whether the shoe is the move. And you might think, well, like you're just jumping on grinds, it's similar to riding. How is that the case? And for me, like when I ollie onto stuff, like whether it's into a grind or over something or into something, how well the board sticks to my feet is very important. That's why I was talking about like 180s are important. Like the way that it sucks up to your feet and sticks to it, like the bottom tread and the fox tape, like how that sticks to the board is super important. Because if it's just like slipping and sliding all over the place, like some shoes that I've skated in the past, especially when I first started skating, I was skating New Balance, but not skateboard New Balance, like dad golf shoe New Balance. And yeah, you just be slipping and sliding all over the place. So these ended up kind of being normal, maybe a little bit more slippery than like an actual skate shoe, but nothing severely noticeable. At the same time though, this park is one of the more grippy parks, so this park is more realistic to if you live in anywhere besides California in the United States. The way that the concrete grips there, this is pretty similar to that. It's not very slippery. So I'd actually have to really skate these on some like real slippery ground, like I'd have to go to Chevy Chase or something like that to see how bad it is to like push and slide around. But I imagine it's probably a little worse than a normal skate shoe. But other than that, I don't know, they work. Definitely skated that ledge way too much for the purpose of this, but I don't know, I started like just wanting to skate a little bit and just have the tripod rolling. But now let's skate the flat bar, much like the ledge. Might not look like it is here, but it's slightly on the taller side, so is the flat bar. When I say taller side, I mean like normal skate park flat bar and flat ledges are a little bit lower than this, but I don't know. Still good. I literally just did it again. I had an entire session on this fucking flat bar that I didn't press record. So, cool. I feel like I have to film this video like 3 times today because I keep forgetting record. This thing where I'm pushing my body, like I'm so sore from not skating, like my legs are literally throbbing, but my board control feels there, just my body doesn't, which is usually the exact opposite thing that I'm used to. Usually I feel fine, but then my mind doesn't want to do what I tell my mind to do. I'm letting the Smith big spin and then move on from the flat bar, because flat bar, taller flat bar is where I'm gonna end up getting hurt. It definitely starting to feel more controlled. That Smith big spin didn't feel as out of control as I expected it to. Yeah, these shoes, man, I'm getting used to them. Honestly, I'm already kind of broken in, and I can see that I'm fully used to them. But the real question is, how do they hold up? Where do the blisters come? And I can tell you right now, just from skating them from today, the bottom of my feet are kind of like vibrating in a similar way that like when I used to skate Vans Eras every once in a while, it would give me this really vibration feeling on the bottom of my foot after I skated because they were just so thin. And these sort of have a similar thing. Nothing you can't remedy with some like decent insoles or some insoles from whatever your favorite skate shoe that you skated last is. Not really noticing any blisters on the back of my heel. I was sort of worried about it because a lot of shoes that have this piece right here, when it sticks up like that, usually that'll give me a blister, but it's kind of arched back enough that it's not actually bothering my foot at all, which is like the biggest concern for me is no matter how weird a shoe is, usually I'll get used to it, but blisters is blisters and there's nothing I can do about it. Like I remember getting the Kyle Walkers and thinking like, oh, this shoe actually skates pretty good. And then the next day, like this skin on the back of my heel and on the balls of the top of my toes were just like gone. And I've heard that same complaint from a lot of people. I think it's just because I have a taller foot, not like a wide foot, but like kind of like a taller foot, a thick foot, if you will. Other than that, like the top, like the inside top here, which rolls across the top of your feet, no real blister issue there for me. The durability, yeah, I don't know, it's holding up. I don't know, it's like I did a bunch of kickflips and stuff like that. The material feels like I would probably rip through it in about 2 weeks, maybe a week, which is pretty standard for me. I don't know what the material is, but it seems to flick fine. It's not too slippery. The bottom of it, Dale and me talked about, sometimes skate shoes, like the shoes that look like they would skate that you're sold at like discount stores, have this like coating of like almost like a velvet bottom. And these seem like they might have that. I couldn't really tell because it's like real faint. If it is, you don't really notice it on your fingers as much, but skating it didn't affect me that much. My foot wasn't really sliding around that much. Even though I was afraid it was going to, it didn't really. So all in all, yeah, I don't know. If you're real fucking desperate and you want to get some shoes for the cheapest price physically possible, Levi's is not the worst decision ever. Worth $20 for skateboarding, but if you can get skate shoes, obviously just go do that. Support an actual skate company. Definitely like broken in enough that I could actually like skate these, which makes me think like, do I skate these? Like, do I actually like make this my skate shoe for the next couple weeks? Probably not. I'm kind of a big fan of having things exactly the way that I want it, and those Adidas shoes that I still have a couple pairs of are definitely gonna be what I rock. But I'm sure there's a bunch of other like cheap brands. Maybe I'll do like Airspeed or something like that and just kind of run down the line and see which one's the best. But I would say like rating this as a shoe, even compared to skate shoes, and I've skated some pretty shitty skate shoes, I'd give them like a 4 out of 10, which isn't absolutely terrible.